All right, guys, welcome to the FitBanker Masterclass. Lovely to have you guys connect on a Saturday morning. This is our last in a series of 6 webinars that we've been running. Just as a build up to our upcoming program that's starting. And obviously, people love to get a bit more knowledge, get a bit more understanding around how it works, what it entails, what kinds of people take it on, what can I expect to get out of it. And so we really have these webinars as an opportunity for you guys to, well, just firstly for me to get to know a bit about you, whether or not you are already signed up to current program. There are also people who already signed up to the program starting Monday that are on, and they're just listening in to prepare for the start of the program. And some are here to find out and see whether they would like to join the program starting Monday. And others I would still like to make a difference to, which is you may not be on a program with us, but you might want to really just get inspired or fired up to get into action and seeing some of the results and us sharing what actually makes a difference, stuff that you can implement, stuff that we implement in the program, because it's very easy to get started. The hard bit is sticking to something. And sticking to something does require a few things like people around you, or a structure that works, or a model that we've seen work and tried and tested and applied time after time after time. So we're now in our 5th year. We've been going for 4.5 years, and I'll be talking a bit more about my journey and some of the results we've caused, and how I went from my career in banking and what I thought was the definition of success to where I am now. We have Neelam, I think, might be trying to reconnect. So we will crack on anyway now. So welcome to the webinar, guys. This is what we call a masterclass, and we look at various topics across them. But today we'll be looking at understanding a bit about how each of us are so unique. So a plan that works for one person doesn't necessarily work for everyone else. And beyond the plan, beyond the set plan, what is more important is really understanding the education, really understanding principles around health, well-being, body composition, energy, strength, fat, muscle, and knowing those principles, we can get to apply them to all areas and choices and decision making around food or exercise or whatever it may be. So let's dig right in. To get started, I'd love to just hear and get some participation from you. Welcome, Prinal. I don't know if Prinal's connected and your audio is there. Yeah, Prinal's connected now. So welcome, guys. We just started. Prinal, you've just missed a slide, me welcoming everybody to the masterclass and sharing a bit about what we're looking at today as an introduction to steps you can implement in your life, or setting people up that are ready for the challenge starting on Monday. Now, that said, we're going to start off by looking at certain existing beliefs we have. And I'm going to talk about what I mean by that. So our body and everything that we do, everything that we take action on, everything that we move or motion exists in our life. You might have heard of the word as emotion representing energy in motion. It's only we act or don't act in a particular area in accordance with some underlying beliefs that exist there for us. And our body and our health is simply a function of that belief system. So to create something new, we need to go deeper. And a big part of FitBanker's programs is not just about here's 100 push-ups, go do it, or here's go for a run or do that. But we want to dig down and look at the mindset. We want to get into having this be sustainable. We want to look at what currently exists inside of us, because if you have to transform something, you have to distinguish what our current beliefs are. So I'll give you an example of some of the beliefs I had. Growing up, chocolate. I used to love chocolate. And the way I would love chocolate is, growing up in Zambia, chocolate was this foreign imported good. It was not something that you got locally. So I believed it to be rare. I believed it to be expensive. And it was something Dad brought back from holiday when he came back from the UK. And so when he brought chocolate, the belief we had about it is, this is good, this is expensive, this is rare, this is scarce in terms of how long it's going to be around. And so when I eat this, when I bite into this chocolate, like, I really better enjoy it. And whenever after that I was presented with chocolate or I saw chocolate, the same beliefs, the same connotations, they come to the forefront of my mind, which is, oh, I got to have this chocolate now. If I don't have this now, I don't know when I'm going to have it next. And so there was a scarcity relationship to it. There was a, this is an expensive thing. I've got to consume it now. I've got to value it. I've got to love it. And it had, and eating it or consuming chocolate with that set of beliefs would lead to the impact and repercussions it has to living a life consuming a lot of chocolates, impact to my teeth, to my health, to my well-being, and so on. But that's how we form certain beliefs. So a lot of us right now on this webinar will have things that we like or that we love, and they often come from that underlying belief. I'll give you another belief that influenced me, and I want to ask you guys as I'm sharing this, think about certain beliefs that you have around food or around exercise or around yourself. So here's another belief that influenced me. Growing up, one of my mates would, as teens, would be a bit insensitive and would be joking about each other and stuff. And I'm somebody who's flat-footed. And as I'm flat-footed, somebody would say to me, and this may even be true, there might be some background to it, which is, um, hey, you're flat-footed. You know what? You can never get into the army. They wouldn't let you in. They check people. If you're flat-footed, they say you can't run, so you have no chance of being in the army. And them telling me, I just made that belief that, you know what? I have a reason why I cannot run, or should not run, or will not run fast. And that was so true. That was so true for me. So my relationship to running, my level of activity or lack thereof, my love for running or lack thereof, was completely driven by this belief that even if I try, it's going to hurt. And when I run, and it hurts my shins, and it hurts my ankles, and it hurts my knees, and it hurts my joints. I had evidence and justification to say, because I'm flat-footed. And what I didn't realize till I interrupted that, till I discovered some new piece of information, I wouldn't be able to alter that. And that new piece of information was, hey, you know what? There are running shoes designed for flat-footed people that give you this internal arch support. And when I buy these Brooks for 100 quid or whatever they or whatever they are going for now, Brooks or Asics that are specific ones, not all of them, and they really support people that are flat-footed, I can suddenly take on things that I previously couldn't. So all of us are exactly where we are, completely aligned with our existing and preconditioned belief system. So that's it. I want to just hear a bit from those of you that have joined. I know we've had a couple more just join in. We have somebody who has, I think, had some audio technical issues drop off, might be joining back in. But I'd like to hear from you guys. So can you just introduce yourself, who you are, where you're joining us from, and share with me one belief that you might have around food or your exercise or yourself.
Cool. I'll go first. My name is Ajay. I'm from Luton, and one of the beliefs that I hold is that if I lose weight, I'll put it back on.
Brilliant, 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 brilliant example. And that is so true for so many of us, and that was true for me for a long time. But brilliant that you are sharing that. Now, I invite you to look at, and I want you guys to write these down, that your belief is dictating the patterns to date. So with that belief in place, for as long as you believe that, when you go through, you lose 5 kilos, 6 kilos, 10 kilos, I want you to consider that you are waiting for, all right, when is the point at which I stop or stop staying in the state and it begins to return back? So just note that down, and I'll explain to you why we're bringing awareness to the forefront in this conversation. And I acknowledge you guys for sharing that in this conversation, and we'll explain the psychology of what we're doing as I go through this webinar. Okay, who'd like to go next?
Hi, it's Trisha here.
Hey, Trishar, welcome.
Can you? Hey, thank you, Ronak. Thank you. You can hear me, yeah. I have a negative belief regarding sports. Actually, I believe that I can't play sports and I'm no good at any sports.
Ah, amazing, amazing. The shares that I'm hearing so far sound like you guys are telling me my story, and I'll be going into it actually as we go through today. So brilliant, you distinguish that, and what I want you to note is write that down and begin to see where in your life, that belief system of I can't play sports, I can't participate in sports, that is controlling or dictating the patterns that are going on in your world. Okay, who's next? Prinal?
Excellent.
Prinal, you there? Prinal, you've just muted yourself. I'm not sure if you're there, if you're having some audio issues. There's an option to type under the chat button. You're unmuted now, so Prinal, it's already unmuted for you, so you should be able to speak now. Just try again, Prinal. All right, Prinal, if you're having some difficulty, then what you might need to do is just drop off and join back in, if you can hear me, because it's showing that you're fully connected, and join back in. And as you join back in, then we'll come back to you to share where you're joining us from and any belief that you have. Okay, brilliant. We'll wait for you to drop off and join back in. We'll move on to the next slide, and I'll come back to you sharing and introducing yourself. Okay, great. So a great thing for us to understand is if we need to alter that, all we have to do, guys, is we have to create a new set of beliefs. And we have to create a new set of beliefs that is not a variant or twisting or changing or suppressing or pushing or forcing or disciplining an existing belief, because that just becomes another version of the same. And I'm going to go into explaining how a bit of uh, how this all works and how I implemented it by going into my journey and sharing my story and my journey from being a fat banker to fit banker. So to fit banker, the business, the birth of the business. So my career kicked off in audit and finance and banking. I'm from Zambia originally, and I have had a 12-year career in accounting, finance, and banking. The last 6 of which was with JP Morgan, where I was vice president at the time I left. And I had a really good career. I worked mainly in London, but I did a few projects in New York. I traveled across Europe. I did some pro bono projects in Senegal and Kenya in Africa. Small visits in India, and it was a really great career where we worked hard and we probably partied harder. But I didn't know that that lifestyle that I was living was at all stressful. It wasn't unenjoyable. It was quite enjoyable, and I was living what I thought was the definition of success, which is eat out, go for socials, take clients out, have loads of drinks, have loads of alcohol, go to loads of dodgy places after work, and come back home late and start early. And that was the routine of my life. And living that life and living that lifestyle led to me turning out to be this guy. And so here I was as a fat banker, and what was going on underneath that smile, or this person that's enjoying this nice social life, is somebody who's actually resigned. And I'm so resigned and cynical around anything can shift and alter around my health and well-being. I had zero conviction that no matter what I tried, it would shift. And I was very committed to actually being right about that belief that I had. Prinal, I think you're back. I think we can hear you now. I'm just going into my intro of my journey. So before I carry on, do you want to just introduce yourself, where you're from, and share a belief that you have that currently exists for you around food, around exercise, or yourself?
Great. Can you hear me? Just want to make sure.
Very clearly now, yeah.
Great. So yeah, my Prinal, and I'm actually in Chiswick in West London. And the belief I have around food is that if I change, or if I alter what I'm eating to be more healthy, I will somehow have to compromise my pleasure of life and of what I'm eating. So it's going to involve compromise, is my belief, and somehow it will involve a negative compromise.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Brilliant.
So that's it. And I'm resigned about that being any different.
Got it.
It's going to hurt.
That's brilliant. Brilliantly distinguished. Very similar to Ajay's and Tushar's, is that the current belief that we have, we think for that to shift is there's going to be some form of sacrifice that needs to be done. But if the relationship to what we currently have is that this thing is rewarding me, if that's the existing relationship in place, then giving up what you perceive as a reward will indeed occur as a sacrifice. And so one thing we do is we alter our relationship to the existing things that we have. I'll go through this and explain, but like I would like, as I shared, chocolate, or I would like even just rice and curry in my meal was a standard part of the meal, and I needed that. And if I didn't have that, it would be like something is missing. Or roti or chapati or bread or pasta or pizza. All these things are things which I thought, no, these are essential. Like these ain't going nowhere. And it was only because that those pleased one particular sense, which was my tongue. And I didn't eat what I call value-based, or what we call functional eating. And we're going to go into that later on today. But brilliant for you to distinguish that. And I want each of you guys to document that belief that you have, and you can also pick any of the beliefs you've heard from others if you also resonate with them, and write that down. That current belief that I have is leading to the pattern that I have. And the pattern might be that I would diet, lose weight, it comes back on. Or I try a sport and I'm standing in front of the goal and I kick the ball wide and everyone laughs at me and I can never partake in any particular sport. Or I try this and it doesn't work out. Or I try to take this on, but then it feels like punishment because I'm not having my favorite foods and treats and so on. But write that down, as that is what you currently get to enjoy, and that's a payoff that you currently get in your current routine and regime and lifestyle. So back to my story, being this fat banker, living what I called and thought was the definition of success, I wound up being this guy. And while I wound up being this guy, I was like, I'm going to still show the world. There's not much I can do about my body, but with my money, I can still enjoy. I can still party. I can still do adventure, and I can still, appreciate myself the way that I am. So I used a lot of self-deprecating humor. So if you're somebody who's used self-deprecating humor to belittle or put down yourself, then raise your hand if that's something that has come up with you. So classic example for me is when someone says, "Hey, you're out of shape," I would respond and I would say, "No, round is a shape. What do you mean?" That image on the right there is me doing the Daniel Craig pose, which is like, "I'll show you. Watch me." And so it was nothing wrong, but it was a thing our identity, our mindset will do in order to survive or not have to deal with a deeper conversation or being responsible for something in that area. And for as long as that was prevalent for me, I found a way to get through human connection and human conversations without having to shift something. So all of us do this. It's a thing that the human brain does. So I would go up Mount Kilimanjaro, and at that time, the first time I did it, I was not fit, never done a mountain, zero belief in myself, but I did it, 100 kilos. That's me at the top. That was the year of the Ice Bucket Challenge, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, and I did the world's highest ice bucket challenge there. And if you can see, my face is white, the water froze on my face, and I'm like trying to show the world, look, I can still get to do and enjoy the things that I want to do, but internally, I wished it was better. But really what was going on internally was also I was resigned that there is nothing else I can do. I'm just one of those guys that's stuck with those bodies. Some people have it, some people don't. And I'm one of those where my body gets inflamed and large when I live a particular lifestyle. I would share a whole bunch of things. I would do like skip meals and run 10K, but it still wouldn't make a difference. So living that lifestyle while we were as bankers, it was 2013, and it was Ambika's birthday, but that's my wife. We were 9 months married, and we were even expecting more news. We were 3 months pregnant at the time, and we were looking forward to announcing to the world in August, around about Ambika's birthday, that we are going to have a baby. And so we went up to Edinburgh to the Fringe Festival. We've booked into this lovely hotel. We're at the Fringe Festival there. And while we're enjoying what we think is the highlight or the definition of success of living our life, it's our first holiday after our honeymoon. and it's Ambika's birthday, and we're about to announce good news. Everything looked beautiful and bright for the future. But while we're there, we had a miscarriage, and we lost a little one. And it was a crushing moment for Ambika, and it was a crushing moment for me. And it really, really was a pop to the bubble that we were living in. And that night, in trying to console Ambika and console myself, I think as a result of that, I got these random heart palpitations, and they were not going away. And the following day, they continued and they persisted. And right through the train journey back, they weren't going away. And I remember telling Ambika to say, "Look, I've got these chest palpitations, but I'm sure it will be okay. I'm going to drink some water. I'll do some deep breathing. I'll sleep, and I'll wake up fine in the morning." And I forget that I'm saying this to a lady who's just lost her baby, and she just screamed and flipped at me. She goes, "No way! I'm waking up tomorrow having lost another one." She immediately dials 999, calls emergency. I end up hospitalized in A&E, and I'm going through a whole bunch of checks now for my heart health, blood tests. Everything is being checked, and I'm lying there at the effect of the medical system and doctors to say, "Look, now I don't know what's going on with me. My health and my future is in your hands." And as I'm doing that, and as we're going through this process, Ambika sat there on the side waiting through the night, and it's like 3 or 4 in the morning, and she's dozed off on the chair, and I'm lying there in the bed. I'm looking to my left and seeing her dozing off, and I just think, why am I doing this to my family? Like, I'm 33 at the time. This is 7 years ago. I'm 33, and I am so not committed to growing up to being one of those dads where family members have to check in on me. Have you had your medication? Being nursed. That I'm a drain on a health system, that I'm a drain, an impact to my kids or those around me. I just don't need that. And I look around at the doctors that were there taking care of me, and other friends that I know that are doctors or personal trainers or athletes, and I'm like, whatever they know is not rocket science. Whatever they know around energy and food and nutrition and whatever keeps them in action, they aren't better than me. They don't know something or have access to something that I cannot get access to. And all that I have to do is get interested and research it and learn about nutrition, learn about body types, learn about body composition, learn about what gives you energy, learn about what gives you strength, and learn it in a way that I can pay it forward, that I can teach others, that I can contribute to others. And so it began the research of studying Ayurveda, body types, metabolism, what's the composition of fat, what builds protein, and so on. And I started to get results. I started to lose 11 pounds a month for 3 months in a row consistently. And after I was about 44 pounds down, I ended up seeing this online body transformation challenge. I signed up to it. And from 108 kilos, I was down to 86 at the time. I throw myself into it, and I ended up winning that challenge. And in 90 days, this is the transformation I caused. It led to so many people reaching out to me saying, "What did you do? How did you train?" And I thought, people want to know this. People want to know how to lose 5 kilos, 10 kilos, or 20 kilos and keep it off. Not everyone wants to be a Schwarzenegger, but they just want to experience more energy, more strength, and so on. And so that led to the birth of FITBANKER. And FITBANKER really is not just for bankers or per se, but it's about people that bank on their fitness and get that others do too. And that's why we exist, to be able to empower people to say, listen, Ajay and Trushar and Prinal, that you are important in your family. You are valued by your colleagues at work. You are important to your parents. You are, banked on by society and community and the people around you. And when you start to get that, then you will take care of the vehicle in a way that is, I want this vehicle, which is just a tool, and a tool is just something that has us get through something from A to B. A tool is something that makes something easier for others. And if we can relate to our vehicle as this tool, we will take care of it as a vehicle in a manner that will be able to be better of service to those around us. And since then, we've been able to transform hundreds of lives in about 24 countries now, 23 countries from in the last 4.5 years. We've had people from all walks of life do this. We've had medical doctors like this lady here who took on our program. She knows all the knowledge as a medical doctor, but her lifestyle as a doctor is working against her, and she doesn't get to look and feel her optimal self. And she's also a mom of two. She's also currently she's on a program with us, but when she took it on the first time, she lost 9.1 kilos, and she she started to do things now that she's never done, like her longest trek, her longest walk. She cooks meals that are healthy for her family because she's changing a generational pattern. The only thing that is genetic in our health, guys, by the way, are the habits that we adopt from our parents. The eating habits, the sleeping habits, the drinking habits is what we thought is the norm from our society, but they're not really genetic. It's the habits that we've carried on. Prinal, sorry, if you don't mind me asking, could you just put yourself on mute? There's some background noise frequently coming in. This is Alyssa. She's one of the Italian participants, took part in our program. Within 90 days, loses 11.3, and then she goes on to lose 20 kilos. And when I ask you guys, think about what's possible for you. If you got to alter your health, what could you then open up through that tool to go on and do something else? Like with me, it's turned into a lifestyle business. With me, it's turned into climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, with me, it's turned into a whole host of other things that I get to do. And that's only happened because I was open to discovering that there's something that lies on the other side that I don't know till I get there. And what she got into was acting. She went on to lose 20 kilos after this. She was passionate and always wanted to, as a child, get into acting. She went and did an acting course with and started acting in theatre. And now she's a screenwriter for one of the theatres in London. These are the guys that are called the Fit Doctors. They came down to London for a TED Talk. We got up for dinner. We got chatting with them. I didn't know them before. And they used to do this annual drive across the US called Drive for Men's Health. You're going to be seeing it soon. If any of you guys are connected to me on Facebook and social media, you'll be seeing that every between March and June, they do this drive for men's health where they used to go across the US. Now they've started going internationally, where they went to India, Dubai, and the US. And they go and talk about well-being for men. They're urologists. They're very well renowned. They're regular appearances on Fox News in the US. And the guy on the left did my program and goes on to lose 53 pounds. The guy on the right lost 36 pounds. And this is 4 years ago, 2016. To date, they have maintained their physique. One of them's got into a new relationship, new marriage, new kid in his late 40s. And the guy now looks like and behaves like he's like in his early 30s. So what's possible through taking this on is a whole new world that opens up. This is Simran, somebody who took on our program, all her life been overweight, all her life believed that whatever she does in diets, she loses, she gains back, all her life not being athletic or sporty per se. And she signs up to our program. She loses 15.8 kilos. She breaks the female record of weight loss in 90 days. She then, a short while period, she goes out of operating at that level. She gains on a bit of weight. She comes back to us. She's like, okay, I need a bigger challenge now. It's what we call the dangling carrot concept. So you sign up to something that is a bigger dangling carrot. And in order to pursue that, you're definitely going to operate at a certain level. So she signs up to Kilimanjaro, not having the money, not having the time off, not having the confidence of how she will do it, but saying after she signs up, she will figure out how to make all that work. So she pays the deposit. She goes and causes the rest of the money. She starts to train. She loses 10 kilos in preparation for it, and which means 20 kilos of lightest overall weight loss from when she started. And it was the hardest for her in that group, and she was the last one to get there, but she was never giving up. And this is her at the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro. And she did not even imagine this. She didn't know what Mount Kilimanjaro was. So I invite you guys to consider that when you can take on optimizing that tool, that vehicle, that gift that you have no idea what's possible on the other side. Ultimately, our focus is on health. And these are three of my favorite stories. This is somebody who was pre-diabetic and told she will not be around for her third born's 10th birthday. And she took on a program, lost 14.5 kilos, reversed her pre-diabetes, and she left her career as a phlebotomist and went on to become a realtor in the US. And now, with that self-confidence, she gets to do something else in a different career. This is Ushma Vagela, somebody who who had a child, a 5-year-old. They had their baby through IVF. They were looking for number 2, but the IVF clinic would not allow them to come back in and start the process because they said she was too overweight, so the chances of conception were very low. The chances of healthy pregnancy were low. So they asked her to lose weight. She spent a year doing it and lost 3 kilos, went back to the clinic, and the clinic still said, that's not enough. You got to lose some more. So she comes back to us quite frustrated with having not succeeded at any of the options she tried. And within 10 weeks, she loses 8 kilos. She's now approved to start the IVF process. And she does. And by the end of the program or shortly thereafter, she successfully conceived. They just wanted one more child. And surprise, surprise, they ended up having twins. So she went from 1 to 3 babies. I flew out to Zambia to interview her, and when the babies were 5 months old, we were doing the interview, and because they were told they could never conceive naturally, they continued to do what they do at night time unprotected, and they ended up getting pregnant again, and for the first time naturally they have baby number 4. So they went from 1 to 4 kids in a window of 20 months, which is just truly one of the most awesome stories. And this one here is one of my favorite ones, which is my dad. He at 70 took on his well-being. He does my program. He had high BP, high cholesterol. He had psoriasis and eczema, and he does our program, loses 17.5 kilos. He is naturally and completely reversed his high blood pressure and high cholesterol. And today he walks between 5 and 7 kilometers daily. He is mentally much younger, entrepreneurial, creative, and it's just amazing to see Dad, who turned 75 last week, to be at a whole new level. But ultimately, this is our goal. Whatever age you are, whatever stage you are, whatever level of fitness you are, whether you go to a gym or can run or not. Like my dad wouldn't go to the gym, but he just does walking, and he alters nutrition, and he sleeps a certain way, and alters various other pillars that we focus on. His well-being gets to be sorted out. So that model that we talk of that works and causes these results, that model, let's think of it as a game, a template. There's a method behind it, and it's very simple. And if you understand the various rules of the game, the various levers, then you know all you have to do is how to play that game better than anyone else. And what you have to do is, it's not even a competition. We call this a challenge, but you're not up against anyone else, but only yourself. So you are here to interrupt and challenge and disappear the old you and discover a new you emerge. And I promise you guys, it's unimaginable what I'm doing today, that I could have been doing this when I was sat there at JP Morgan, VP, sat behind the desk, 108 kilos, and my well-being was not working. What I'm doing now, what I get to do, the life I get to live, the fun and play I get to have with my son, is just unimaginable, right? From here, we're at, right now this weekend in Seaford, I'm probably going to go dip into the sea for a dip at some point, either today or tomorrow morning. And things like that, I just wouldn't have had the confidence and ability to do. Climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, taking people up there. I have a personal goal of taking 100 people up Mount Kilimanjaro, and to take people from whatever level they're at. And so long we have at least 3 months to prepare, we can take them from wherever they're at to summit, if they have that mental will to do it, and they're willing to be coached by us. So you have to learn the rules of the game, and then you have to play better than anyone else. Now, how do we make this sustainable? So especially for you who think that I try to do something, and no matter what I try, it volleys back, or it returns or reverses, or I'm not good at sport, or I'm not good at this, and you want to completely alter that belief system. Your belief system neurologically is actually a pattern of neurons that are firing repeatedly in a certain set way. Those of you that are familiar with Vedic teachings, we call them a vasana. And the way this vasana works is we have 2 brain cells, they fire, and this brain cells fire, and it's called a synapse process happens. And as that happens, those 2 brains fire when something happens in our life, we have an experience, and we make an interpretation about it. And multiple of these firing, they repeat fire, they begin to strengthen the neurons in that pathway. So as a kid, if someone said to me, when I was a kid, someone said to me something that made me think I'm ugly, whenever somebody said the word ugly, the neurons in that pathway would completely fire up every time. So I'll give you an example of this experience and interpretation, which I was saying earlier to Tushara's point, is exactly what I thought about sport. So I'm growing up in school, I'm about 6 or 7 years old, and it's sports day, and they're going through the list of sports and who is going to participate in which one. And they call everyone's names out. They call the sports out: the long jump, the relay, the high jump, the 100-meter sprint, the sack race. They still haven't called me. The egg and spoon race, they still didn't call my name. And I'm like, when are they going to call me? And then they say, oh, Ronak, you're doing this thing called the memory race. I'm like, what's that? And from the start line, you have to walk 10 meters, not even run, you walk. You look down into this box, and in that box, you have 30 seconds to visually look at everything and memorize as many things as you can. And there's colorful toys and stationery and squiggly balls and sponges and springs. And we have to walk back to the start, and we have to write down as many of the things as we can remember. And whoever wrote down the most wins the memory race. And I remember making a decision with whatever limited vocab I had at the time that, hang on, that's not sporty, that's brainy. And fast forward a few years, I move into new school. And when you move into new school, you just want to fit in. You just want to feel like you belong. You just want to be accepted. You just want to be acknowledged that your presence is there. And it's lunchtime. And at lunchtime, we get the football and we're about to have a kickabout. And they're choosing teams at lunchtime. And as they're choosing the teams, there are two captains. And, each person is picking one person at a time from the crowd. And they don't pick me. They pick everyone else. And they realize that one team is odd and one team is even. So they need to pick me to make it equal. And I make a decision. Damn, these buggers. I'm new here, and rather than welcoming me and receiving me and acknowledging me, they're picking me last. They must think, again, the same thing. I'm not sporty, I'm brainy. So I make this decision that I'm not athletic, I'm academic. So no matter what I try at sport, I will not succeed. And that kind of a decision made then forms this full-fledged mental construct, this connection of multiple neurons and pathways. It exists like a template. Think of it like a stencil. So whatever you put through that stencil or through that grater only comes out on the other side in one way. And whenever somebody invited me to sport or go for a run or, hey, we're playing 7-a-side, my default response would be something like, oh, no, I'm too busy, or not till I get fit. Let me get fit first, then I'll join you. But I miss out that the obstacle is the way, which is by saying yes to them is how I get fit, not the other way, right? Not when I get fit, then I can say yes to you. So when I'm working at JP Morgan 25 years later, I'm in London now, and my colleagues are going for a run at lunchtime, and they're like, hey, do you want to go for a run? And I immediately say, oh man, no, I'm really busy. I got loads on. That's what I say externally, because this template of my brain has figured out surviving that situation, just like the old me figured out surviving conversations around my body, my physique, my health, or what I can or cannot do. Self-deprecating humor. In the professional world, we make ourselves look great by saying, hey, I'm a bit busy, I've got work to do. So we look like we're serious about work. We don't have time for things like going for a run. But underlying that, what's really going on is somebody who thinks, if I say yes to go for a run, first of all, 3 minutes in, I will be out of breath. And these guys would go way past me, and I'd be already down on my knees. And they will have to stop for me, they'd have to come back, and I'd feel like I'm dragging them, like I'm draining them, like I'm slowing them down. And I don't want to be that guy that an hour and a half later they come back to the office and people ask, how was the run? And they're like, well, it should have been half an hour, but Ronnie over here was so slow that it took an hour and a half. I didn't want to be humiliated again. That childhood experience, the inner child in me, was doing everything to not be exposed. And that's how most of us are living through life till we distinguish where we made up these beliefs that I spoke about at the start around us. And the way we interrupt that is we create a paradigm shift. Now, what do you mean a paradigm shift around who and how you perceive yourself to be Ajay, or who and how you perceive yourself to be Pranal or Trushar? Is you have to first of all acknowledge what's there. So the first step we did on this webinar was to ask you of some certain beliefs, and what you gave me was only like the first thing that came to mind, looking at it for 30 seconds. Now, over 90 days of the program, we continue to explore certain limitations or beliefs that keep coming up, and we acknowledge them. We acknowledge and bring awareness to what we believe to be true around food, around our body, around our energy, around our strength, around our sport, whatever it is. We acknowledge and write down this thing, because by distinguishing something, by putting it out on paper, it's no longer there in your brain and it no longer has a grip over you. You begin to have it. It doesn't have you. And so first thing is we acknowledge what's there. So in our program, we look at acknowledging all that we know about food, all that we know about the world that we live in, and the food choices, and why we shop the way we shop, and why we have 3 meals a day, which, by the way, is just an invention of the Industrial Revolution. We are hunters and gatherers by background. And then we replace that model by another model of belief. And we often, the best way to create a whole new model is to just find another one out there, somebody else's that works for them, somebody else's that does and operates and lives a life that is completely different to ours, but you think that that works. Like, I can see that work for that guy. That guy's got his health sorted, or that guy's got his money game sorted. So even in the area of money, by the way, the area of relationships, if you want to transform any of those, look around you at people that have those areas sorted. Consider that to them, that is not a struggle. That comes naturally for them. So look at what about their mental construct just flows seamlessly. What can you learn from surrounding yourself with people that have already figured that out, or are somewhat have a better model to the one that we're using? And the third one is you want to learn that model. It's how you learn it. The method of learning is called learning through discovery, and it's experiential. So if you think about it, things and moments in life where you've been surprised, or you've had an aha moment, or the penny drop, That type of learning, those lessons last. But just reading something or understanding something conceptually doesn't make a shift inside our brain. So the way we deliver our content on our webinars, or the way we give you an assignment, which is like, all right, Trisha, I want to know how long it takes you to burn 500 calories. Use this app to track it and tell me which activity you will do, whether you go walking or bike riding or swimming or whatever. And once you record it, you begin to discover, wow, I thought 500 calories,
Yeah.
I could burn that in half an hour or whatever. But you find when you take that activity, this one took me an hour 20, this one took me 45 minutes, this one took me 2 hours to burn that amount of calories. So we begin to learn something in a manner that sustains and is retained within our brain. And through this exercise, the end of which we begin to create this whole new mental construct, this whole new interconnected layer and template of decision making um, framework. And through that framework, we then begin to create a whole new us, a whole new lifestyle that begins to emerge and chisel away. So here are some of the things that I got aware to, the step one. So they're called limiting beliefs, right? Those limiting beliefs. So a limiting belief was I saw evidence for them. I saw my dad being overweight, and I saw myself overweight at over 30. And my dad had us when he was in his 30s, so we can only remember him as far back as his 30s. And so when I'm in my 30s and I'm overweight, and he was in his 30s overweight, and all his life has been, I knew that I was destined for the same. And I believed I have, and I could blame my dad because then I don't have to be responsible for it, that I've got your fat gene. It's not my fault, it's something I've inherited from you. And I believe that to be true because I read on a magazine like Cosmopolitan, which says, new research on fat gene, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what I read and where I read it, but I believed that there was a thing called a fat gene, and that this definition that existed in my mind meant inside me there is something genetic which, unless it's operated out or some other way taken out of me, I cannot control or influence what volume my body occupies, because I believe there was this thing called a fat gene. So I researched fat gene. Fat gene, where is it? Where does it exist? Can it be operated out? Blah, blah, blah. There is no such thing as a fat gene. It's an informal term used by throwaway magazines. There is no scientific term as a freaking fat gene. But because I believed it to be true, I had a reason to keep my current body the shape it was. When I disappeared that belief and I did the additional education and research and found a model that debunked it, not only do I transform, but I got to transform the prior generation to me, which is my dad. He got on to reverse his health because I found a new set of rules and a new model that worked to shift the old. Here's another one. I believed life was unfair because, and some of you might experience this, where you go out, you have a partner, both of you eat the same foods, and you might find, or friends, you have people that eat the same foods, and you eat the same quantity and quality of foods. Yet for some of us, like in my case, Ambika and I would go out, we eat pastas and pizzas, and we were drinking alcohol and go and party the night away. And what would happen is that I feel sluggish, I feel lethargic, my skin is flushing. You can see it in this photo. And the next day I put on half a kilo. And I made a decision that life is unfair. Some people have it and some people don't. And I had a belief that Ambika was one of those people that she could eat all she wanted and she would always remain lean. Whereas whatever I ate would impact my energy levels, my focus, my concentration, my lethargy, my fatigue. And the next day I've put on half a kilo. And I believed I was cursed. But what I didn't know was there's a whole piece of information out there that was missing that I was unaware of. And it's called the science of body types. And it's old, it's ancient, it's 5,000 years old according to Ayurveda. And in Ayurveda, they speak of three body types called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And in Western science, it's called ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph. And if you don't know about this, you will be eating what everybody else is eating. You will be eating what's laid out on your plate. You will be eating what in the school they taught us that this is the way to eat. When they taught you the basics 101 of nutrition, they gave you an example plate in front of us, but the way we processed it was my plate every day needs to look like that. And we didn't understand that in trying to simplify a message from a government body or a school, that we all took one piece of information, yet we're so unique. So this masterclass is we're trying to introduce you to this concept we call the science of transformative health, and knowing to eat according to your specificities, knowing what's unique about you, which is what we were saying on the first slide. And one of them is understanding your body type. And so the third piece of awareness was, well, where did I get my eating patterns from? And we got our eating patterns from what we call like school, the government website. This is from the NHS or the .gov.uk website, which is called the Eat Well Guide. We were raised on this in our curriculum, and our kids are still being raised on this. And it used to be called the Eat Well Plate. Nowadays, now it's called the Eat Well Guide. And this guide is trying to tell us that all of us need to eat the same. We all need to eat certain amount of starches and potatoes and breads and so on. Certain amount of dairy, certain amount of pulses, certain amount of beans, certain amount of veg, certain amount of fruit. And then we have these generic terms thrown around like 5 a day or this or that. Like, we are so unique, but we're all being given one piece of information. In fact, the funny thing about this slide, is that the only difference it shows in the bottom right corner, it shows that per day women should have 2,000 calories and men should have 2,500 calories. And I mean, isn't that completely BS? Because you would have a lady that is 4'7" and you'd have a lady that is 5'9". Why would they have the same needs? You would have a guy that is, again, 5'7" and a guy that would be 6'2", and one would be a bricklayer and one works in an office or works as as an Uber driver, or somebody works as a carpenter versus somebody who works as a um, uh, as a doctor. Your design of your day, the way you expend energy is completely different. One will have a higher stress level or mental energy being drained, while one is using a lot of physical energy. So there would be very different utilizations or functions of those people. Why would we have the same inputs to those people? It just doesn't make sense. And this is where what we've created comes in, which is transformative health, is understanding, having you be educated on understanding you, that you're so unique. And even those of you that have caused a shift before in your health, I want you to consider that belief that you had that got you only so far, got you only so far. And if you want to go beyond to another level, if you want to get something sustained, if you want to discover yourself newly in a new sport or activity or adventure, you have to deepen and tap into this untapped knowledge that we all have within us, and we just need to discover it and explore it. And I'm going to look at 5 of the areas of transformative health. There are multiple things we look at, but for today's webinar, we're going to explore 5 of them. So one is, like I said, we're unique by lifestyle, as I gave you the example, bricklayer versus a desk-based job in IT or in finance or banking, like I had, right? That lifestyle of sitting at my desk, getting in early, leaving late, having 3 meals at my desk, and then going home just to crash is very different energy expenditure to somebody that's working out in a field as a postman or moving their limbs daily so much rather than just the fingers like I was. We're so unique by body type, as explained to you by my wife and I. So what works for her now is very different to what works for me. And we get that working in our household. And then I mentioned functional eating. Just as each of us, we have a function in society, right? If you're somebody who is a trader, if you're somebody who is a financier, if you're somebody who is a healthcare professional, if you're somebody that's a social worker, if you're somebody that's an Uber driver, if you're somebody that is a bricklayer or carpenter or a builder or a property developer, you have a function inside society. A Japanese term for that is called ikigai. A Vedic term for that is called dharma. If you understand your dharma in society, you are just a dot amongst the population. I want you to consider that there is also dharma in every gram of food we eat. Every food that we eat, every granule of it has function. So I never understood this properly, but there is carbohydrates, there is fats, and there is proteins. And each of them, the molecules of those operate and behave differently inside our body. So if we want them to perform certain functions like go to storage as fat or go to energy as kilojoules and calories or go towards storage as muscle, we need to eat in accordance to the demands and requirements of our body. And that's called functional eating. And functional eating is about learning how to eat based on the design and function of your day. So if you're somebody that requires more muscle for your role and a stronger physique, you can eat to create a body and physique that matches that purpose. If you're somebody that wants to have more energy in the day, you can eat according to that. If you're somebody that wants to be more calmer in the day, you can eat according to that. But what most of us are doing is we're eating according to the tongue's demands. So, all of us that struggle with altering our relationship to a food, I want you to consider that your tongue, the 3.5 inches of your tongue, have more of a say over the body's destination and destiny than the whole of your body has, than your mind has, than your spirit has over your body. Because the tongue or all of our senses are a lot more dominating at the grosser level than all that lies underneath and within us. So if you understand that, and if you understand the principles and values of functional eating, if you eat value based, and if you alter your relationship to food as value based, then what you choose to eat shifts. And so I always tell people on this program, you can eat whatever you want, but by day 90, what you want begins to change. Fourth is we are different by body composition. We are all made up of effectively fat, muscle, and bone, but there are different percentages within us. So somebody who needs to go from 35% body fat, like my before photo was at about 30% body fat, and to come down to 5.9% body fat in this photo, to go through there means someone needs to lose 20 to 25% body fat. To do that, the plan that's required for that is very different for somebody that might need to add muscle mass and maybe lose 3 or 4% fat. So each person's plan will be different, and we're so unique. And understanding how unique we are by body composition, we can do that nowadays because we can buy scales that tell us what we're made of. And so on our program, we do recommend people go to a Boots or a pharmacy or a gym that can check their body composition, or they order the scale at home, which is what we do. And it costs like 60, 70 quid to have the scale at home. You can get a very complex and nice one for 170, but it's brilliant to have this in your house and have this information available to you. The fifth pillar of transformative health is what we call, we are not coaching just on physical exercise. Most of us are being missold this message out there about this new gym and new gym concept. And so many people at the start of the year, we've been given these offers and promos to join a particular gym. And that gym is just about 1 hour a day. What are we doing the 23 hours outside of the gym? That's where we come in. That's the bigger part that has an impact on your day. Think about what influences and impacts your energy levels, your strength, and so on. Welcome, Krishna. Lovely to have you join. This is a recorded webinar, so whatever you've missed, you will still be able to catch up later. We have just come to the part where we're explaining what is transformative health, and we've gone through some beliefs that we've had. We've gone through my backstory, and we're now looking at some of the essentials of transformative health. So we coach on the 23 hours outside the gym. So it's what we call the 23/7 rule. And in there, we don't look just at physical, but we look at emotional, mental, and spiritual muscles. And we explain some of that. Those are some of those habits, or this emotional eating, or when we're depressed, we just go and get drunk or eat or some other thing that has an influence over us. And that is where we coach on the spiritual, emotional, the mind-body connection, the relational area and aspect of our well-being. Transformative health, as mentioned earlier, looks at our body composition. And inside our body composition, we have two types of fat. One is called subcutaneous fat, and the other one is called visceral fat. Subcutaneous is the fat that gathers mostly around our belly, our thighs, and our bums, and is the first tier of fat underneath the skin. And then visceral fat is the type of fat that is the type of fat that's around our organs and internally inside our blood vessels, and that begins to have an impact to our well-being. So knowing how much of each of those that we have is what will really have us know which one to alter. So it's really key to understand that. It's also something we can get to ascertain from a body composition scale. Ultimately, what are we trying to do to each person? So I can give you the specifics for your age and gender, but at a high level, males are trying to go to about 45% muscle mass, and females to between 30 and 36. Males would have, on average, between 11 to 19% body fat is the healthy range, and for females, between 21 and 33. Now, we give you the specific one for your age and your gender, but I've given you a range. And in this image, you can see the guy has 12 plus 3, which is 15% body fat. His range is 11 to 19, which means in the healthy range. And the female has 12 plus 15, which is 27, and their range is 21 to 33. So ultimately, we're trying to do this. How do you go from person on the left to person on the right? I mean, you can forecast and predict how to burn a pound of fat, and we will show you that today. The way you do that is you bring accountability to every gram and every piece of energy entering you. And we do this in a very scientific, arithmetic, numeric way. So another type of relationship we form towards food is not just taste-based, not just value-based, but it is also numerical based. So we start to form this numerical relationship. And what I mean by numerical relationship is we we use an app called MyFitnessPal to record our food. For those of you already on the app, or if you want to download it, those of you on the challenge starting Monday, this is now part of the preparation for Monday. Please download these two apps. Download MyFitnessPal and Runkeeper. On both of those apps, please, under friends or contacts, search for FITBANKER. You'll be able to see then what I eat, but you will also, more importantly, we will coach you how to set up. It comes with some default settings, but we'll show you how to alter it to get the right macronutrient split for your body type, for your goals, and what you're trying to get to. Generally, we go for a 30% protein, 30% fat, and 40% carb split, and we can set that up in MyFitnessPal. Now, MyFitnessPal will record energy and macros in, more important than calories only, and Runkeeper will record that out. And we get to connect the two apps. So there's an option to connect the two apps under the settings called apps and devices, and you connect the two. I'm very quickly explaining this here because there is a more detailed instructional video for those that are going to be on the program Monday. We will send you that instructional video to get you ready to start, because this is really like, you know what, latch onto the opportunity, and I'm taking on my health and well-being. So how do we burn a pound of fat? As I explained to you, we'll show you. To burn 1 pound of fat from your body is a very predictable game that you can influence and control. And to do that, you have to create a 3,500 calorie deficit. Now, how do you do that? Very simple. You join me on Mount Kilimanjaro for a day. So that's me being funny, but if you were climbing Kilimanjaro in a day, you would burn between 2,500 and 3,500 calories. But we can't do that every day. So how do we do that here? Well, we spread that out across a week. So we aim for an average of 500 calorie deficit a day. Across 7 days, we would have lost 3,500 calories. We would lose a pound of fat. And this app on the left is showing you that the person had a goal of consuming 1,700 calories. They consumed 1,109, and they burned additional calories of 273, so increasing their allowance, and they left a deficit of 864. So this person, if they ate this way for the week and managed the energy levels this way for the week, they would be on course to lose at least a pound by end of the week. And so we have you record that. We can review it. We can support you if you have any questions as you go through it. We then make habits. We then design our day. Most of us, our days are very reactive. And the only things that we stick to in the design of our day is often if we're in a job, working for somebody, we show up at the time they've told us to show up, and we leave at the time they've told us we can leave. Then everything else outside of that, often we're trashing our own world. We don't create structure for our own world. And that's why most of us have health or a body or a lifestyle that just probably isn't working as good as it could. And so we first make our habits, and then our habits make us. So we coach you on designing your habits. Here's a simple habit of understanding the relationship and correlation between the timing of food, the quality of food, and the order of food. And what do I mean by order? So the definition of metabolism, a very simplistic definition, is metabolism is how your body converts food into 3 things: into energy, into muscle, and into fat. So the old me would consume food like pizzas, pastas, and I would finish work at 9 or 10 p.m. And on the tube home, about two stops before I reached my station in West Kensington, I would call my local pizza guy, Romeo's Pizza. I'd say, hey, can I have that pizza for $7.99 and have all these toppings and cheese and olives and blah, 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 and jalapenos and everything that I love on top with chili sauce, and I'm going to come pick it up in 15 minutes. I reach the station. I have no time to cook at home, so I go pick up this pizza. I walk into my house. I switch on Sky News or movie. I'm watching that at night. I'm eating my pizza. I'm having a sugary drink with it, like a soda or something, and I'd finish my pizza and I would knock out and I'd go to sleep. And then I've just put in 1,200 calories in my body at 11 p.m. at night. And where do you think my body is going to send those calories? As I go to sleep, it has no option but to put it in storage, because our body is a brain of its own. Not has a brain of its own, our body is a brain of its own. It figures out that with all this thing inside me, I need to put this out somewhere. But if you're not budging, if you're not moving, if you're lying asleep, all that you're doing is telling those 1,200 calories to go to storage because I don't need them now. And so it puts it to storage, and I ended up like fat bastard in the bottom right image. But now I have foods that contribute to energy, and I have foods that contribute to muscle, and they contribute less to fat. We all need a small certain amount of essential fat, but let's not kid ourselves if we're having way more than essential. And we need to do stuff that triggers the breakdown of already what's stored there. And by reordering the timing and order and quality and quantity of my meals with activity around that, my body began to be this functional vehicle through which energy passed through for purpose. And I got to contribute more towards energy and more towards muscle and less to fat. And that's how I altered my body composition. Our bodies, guys, at any point in time are simply a result of what we do before we eat and what we do after we eat. But remember, when you're about to choose what to eat, that depends on what you just did or what you're just about to do. So if you're just about to go to sleep, I wouldn't have 1200 calorie pizza. I'd probably have a nice green smoothie or a green salad or something like, right? Which means it's going to break down within 45 minutes, an hour, and it will not be something high in calories and the wrong macronutrients that are not necessary for sleep. How do we alter our internal composition or boost our metabolism? We make our body more efficient and being more energetic and increase oxygen by alkalizing our body. So we do alkalinity, we do alkalizing smoothies. Here are 2 smoothies that we have. You can take a screenshot of them, or you can message me after this and I can send these to you. Or if you're on the program, you're getting these anyway. So we have 5 such smoothies. These are 2 of them, and we send them to you when you're on the program. And by implementing these, by having these smoothies, you begin to alkalize our bodies. Most of us, our bodies are acidic. You can check it with the pH strip. But any foods that contain sugars, high starches, alcohol, sugary drinks, loads of even excess fruit, which we know fruits to be good, but an excess amount of it leads to acidity in the body, makes our bodies acidic in nature. And an acidic environment is really good for 2 things. One, it's good at storing fat cells in the body, and number 2, it's good at um, thriving cancerous cells. So cancer, by the way, when anyone gets cancer in and around us, I want you to know it didn't start like in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It started mostly based on a lifestyle they lived from their 20s to 40s or 20s to 50s, and then cancer kicks in, in our 50s, 60s, and 70s. But it didn't happen overnight. It started in the 20 to 30 or 40 prime years of our life. And so the first thing we do is we alkalize our bodies. Number 2 is we trigger thermogenesis. Thermogenesis means trigger fat burn. You might have seen this hype in newspapers and videos out there, which is do this exercise and you will burn fat while you sat at your desk. And that's called, the type of exercise called HIIT, high intensity interval training. And here's a 7-minute version. You can take a screenshot of this. I could also send this to you as an image later if we're connected on social media or WhatsApp. And you begin to implement this HIIT routine. And by doing this in 7 minutes, 40 seconds of high intensity work, 20 seconds of rest between each set, you'll get to push your heart rate to a level that triggers fat burn. Those of you that have an Apple Watch, if you have an Apple Watch, you'll see there's a green ring, an orange ring, and a red ring. That red ring is telling you how many minutes a day you went into thermogenesis. You can also do that with a different type of Fitbit or wearable tech, which is telling you your heart rate. And if you get your heart rate to between 60% and 90% of what your maximum is, then again in that range, you will be triggering fat burn. So this 7-minute HIIT routine is something that you can implement and do in the morning before you go to work. And if you do 2 rounds of it, guess what? Even better than doing 1 round. And if you do 3 rounds of it, which is like most 30-minute classes are designed on making you go through 3 circuits, even better. So you can start with just one 7-minute round, and that is a great start, and go up to 30 minutes if you wish. The third one is the psychology of reinforcing your patterns, psychology of reinforcing positive behavior. The only reason, guys, we always volley back or return to the old is we're not doing anything to reinforce the new. And one way of reinforcing the new is the power of sharing. So Trushar is somebody on this webinar. He's also been through a great health transformation journey, and he's gotten some way through his journey. And I say, like, you should share your story out there. Share it, like, talk about it, hold a presentation, share on social media. This guy here was the same doctor that lost 53 pounds. Firstly, you have to remember he's a doctor, and people will see him and judge him as, hang on, but you should know this all along. But most of us, we know we have doctors in our lives who smoke, who drink, who are overweight, who are obese, and they don't look like they're an ambassador of health, yet we are going to them when we have a health issue. And this guy got to be a representation of what he stands for. By sharing, he would share every day. He's used the hashtag FITBANKER probably second most to me because whenever we share, we ask you to share that with a hashtag so we can follow you and see them. And this guy would do it daily, if not 2 or 3 times a day during his 90 days and beyond. And as a result, he went on to lose 53 pounds because he reinforced these new patterns and new neuronal pathways that he was getting into. And that is how leadership is done. That is how, Kennedy says we're going to put a man on the moon first before they put the man on the moon. This is how people say I'm going to be a billionaire first before they go on to be a billionaire. This is how people say I'm going to have a six-pack first before they go on to have a six-pack. It takes courage, audacity, and humility to state that you're up to something. And I always tell people, don't do it from an ego standpoint. Don't say, hey, watch me, I'm going to do this. It's not about watch me. It's about, don't do it to impress, do it to inspire. If you really get that you want to do something great to inspire others to be in action, then that is the angle to share. This fifth point is a warning. This is a warning sign to say if you're an achiever and a performer in life, that you also have what's called a self-sabotage mechanism. And it's called the achiever's mindset. So all of us who have achieved great or do well currently in our job, or as a son or a daughter, or as a sibling, or in communication, or in our dress sense, or in our choice of restaurants, I don't know, whatever it is you're an achiever in, if you really excelled well in life in a particular area of life, what happens is you tend to be harsh on yourself on the areas that you're not good at. So when you say you're not good at sport, I want you to consider you might be so good in other areas of your life that if you don't perform to your standard in sport, or if you don't do well, you take yourself out. Similarly, people do this on their health journey. When they start working on the health journey, if they're not seeing results within 3 weeks, or if they're not, if they miss 3 webinars on our program, or if they don't record their food for a week and they think, oh, I have to catch up and do all that, they punish themselves. They think, oh my God, I'm never going to be great. I'm never going to do this right. I'm going, sod this. They throw their toys out of the pram and they go from all in to all out. And what we're trying to tell you is bring yourself some compassion, bring some self-compassion here, that it's okay if you slip up. And we know we're dealing with human beings that have busy lifestyles, they're emotional, they're dealing with the volatility, they're dealing with self-doubt, they're dealing with their own concern, they're dealing with their own procrastination. Like, I do that. I see something that I know is so good for me, it's what I need, but I will pause and hesitate. But then a year goes and nothing has changed, say in my business, or nothing has changed in my marriage or my relationship, but nothing has changed in the way I speak to or relate to family. And so all of us have to find coaches and gurus and swamis and programs and models that support us and get us through a particular journey. And the thing that takes us out is what's called the achiever's mindset trap. And the achiever's mindset trap is our self-sabotage mechanism. So if that shows its head, if that shows up for you, that's where you get a coach to support you. So guys, just want to acknowledge we are at 12:15. We did start about 7 minutes late because of people joining in. So if it's okay for you, we're going to take 7 more minutes and we have only 4 more slides to go through. So the first step of our webinar 1, we look at our limiting beliefs that exist at a macro level in the world out there. So we look at the world we inherited. I'm not going to play this now, but I'm going to explain what it is about. We look at what's called the agrarian revolution. From the moment that we discovered the seed as human beings, we started to farm food. When we farmed food, we stopped being hunters and gatherers. Hunters and gatherers, and our bodies and vehicles are designed to move, to hunt, to go out there, to scavenge and find food. And if we spent that energy in trying to find it, we would have burnt a certain amount of calories that we need to burn down the food and fat stored in our body. And we would find that food to replace what we've just spent and burnt down. So we get to stay in balance and continue existing and surviving and living. And so we look at, with that as a background, today, we don't have that need to go out and spend that. We don't have that balance being created in the routine and design of our day. We're sitting at a desk and we're ordering food through Uber Eats, and somebody else is going through that hassle of hunting and gathering and cooking and preparing, and then we're just consuming. And so there's a big mismatch in today's lifestyle versus what our bodies were designed to do. So looking and bringing awareness to that is the first step to disappearing that old pattern and creating a new one that works for us. The second one is we have to own our lifestyle habits. They come from what I call the 3 M's: mums, media, and the majority. Mums means our culture, our upbringing. There are certain foods we say, oh, you can't tell me not to eat this. This has been a traditional food. I mean, who made it traditional? It's just something that was made up. I actually joke and I say that some of our foods that we eat are actually called slave foods. And what I mean by slave foods is that they were grown in mass for when we were laborers or worked on fields. So when human beings owned human beings, either as their employees or laborers or slaves, in the West and in the Europe, it was wheat that was grown in mass. It was cheap to grow, it spread like fire, it was very easy to mill, and you fed it down to the masses that you owned. So your cost of inputs to your labor force was low. What we then started to do as consumers of that, we started to flavor them and boil them and mince them and mash them. And you had wheats in Europe and the and Americas. You had corn in South America. You had corn in Africa and yam in Africa. You had rice in Asia. And consuming and living life, consuming all that, um, does not necessarily mean that it's healthy. It was what was abundantly available, cheaply available, ready and to access and grow, but doesn't necessarily mean it was the best functional foods for the body. So a lot of us inherit those from our culture, and we don't question whether it's still applicable to today's lifestyle. Because my grandfather, to go to work and come back every day, would walk between 5 and 10 kilometers. But in my case, I never walked more than 2 or 3 kilometers till the age of about 26, right? And even then, when I dared to do 10 kilometers, I vowed never to do it again till I ended up hospitalized at 34 and then started to do it again. So knowing the background we came from is the first step to altering that. And then the masses. If you go to work at someone's birthday, they'll bring a box called Krispy Kremes and will have some nice slogan on it, which it says, think inside the box. That is exactly what we start conforming to. That's the herd mentality. And if you want to interrupt that, you have to catch that that is a trap, that is conformity, that is normal, ordinary, and you want to create extraordinary. So the third step that we do on our program, we won't go into that too much more, but we look at those questions we asked at the start, which are, what is it you believe about food? What is it you believe about a plate of food should have or should be? Where did that come from? You know, who said it should be that way? There's a beautiful quote by Steve Jobs, which is, we grow up being told our job is to live our life inside of this world, to not push boundaries, to not bang against the walls too much, to get an education, get a job, have a family, buy a house, a standardized life. And it's such a trap to live in that, guys. And my commitment to human beings is to get them out of the matrix, to interrupt that trap that they're in and get them discover their unlimited potential. And health is just a foundation of that. But these principles we can apply to wealth, to relationships, to all areas of life. And it's just the beginning to crush those limiting points of views that are keeping our existing patterns at play. So 3 more slides. To cause a transformation and to keep it sustainable, there's a quote by Aristotle, which is, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. How do you stay in action? How do you stay supported? First, you need a structure of people and a community around you that are doing the same thing you want to or aspire towards, not the current community around you that is already having you be and stay the way you are. What I mean by that is, I'm not saying ditch your friends. I'm saying surround yourself with people that are transforming their health, that are experiencing strength, energy, living a life of adventure, pushing boundaries, so on and so forth. Surround yourself by that team and community. Second one is sharing your actions out there as a commitment to inspire others to be in action too. Remember, don't make it about impressing or showing off. Make it about others being inspired. If you've seen a post by me that inspired you, it may have led you to be on this webinar today. And I could not make a difference to you. I could not alter the trajectory of your life if I didn't share to inspire. And my intent, my underlying intent, is never can never cheat anyone, right? We can learn how to read people's intent. If my intent is authentically to contribute, to commit to people, you will sniff that. If my intent is anything other than that, you would sniff that too. So getting that very clear. The third one is dangle that carrot. So as I explained to you, Simran signed up to Kilimanjaro and she knows I have to climb that mountain in 9 months. There is no flipping way I am not going to be in the shape of my life to do that. So by signing up to something that is completely outside your comfort zone, it might be a 100K walk, it might be a marathon, a triathlon, it might be a wedding that you're preparing for. It might be you don't even have a partner, but you're going to get ready for that wedding anyway and be in shape of your life. And going through that journey, the person you will get to be, to become, going through that journey will have you be more attractive. Because you're now creating or playing for a bigger game. You're dangling that carrot of something you're aspiring towards, or signing up to Kilimanjaro, right? And preparing for that as you get in a certain shape or form. So those are some of the things that we do to keep us psychologically in action. I'm mindful of time, so I just want to ask: are there any questions so far from what we've covered? I'm going to now go on to explain about the FitBanker challenge and an opportunity and gift for you guys. But I want to find out first if there are any questions or something you want to find out that you didn't get to find out. And I acknowledge, Krishna, you joined halfway, so but still, if you have any questions, please ask. Anyone, any questions?
Hi, yeah, Ronak, just Krishna, question.
Mhm.
In terms of like, I love your energy and that, and what kind of still keeps you going on the track? You know, the fact that and you mentioned about you care about the sharing and the compassion element, but
Mhm.
even at your state where you kind of almost got the optimum body, what's still sparking you, bro?
Thank you so much for that question, Tushar. And all of us should have this. It's when you sign up to the FitBanker Challenge, the first thing you get is a questionnaire where we ascertain your body type assessment. But one of the questions we ask in there is, what is your greater why? Why are you doing this? You know, when I was hospitalized, I was also looking at that time to leave banking and start in business. But I didn't know what I was going to do in business. And as I was going through personal development journey, I got present to what we call problems in the world. And most things that we call problems in the world, we're trying to escape and run away from. And problems, if you can solve problems, if you can solve a problem, that is an entrepreneurial opportunity. And so I said, what is the biggest problem in the world? And I was trying to think of it. So I Googled, what is the biggest cause of death in the world? And it said 7 out of 10 of the top causes of premature death are lifestyle disease. And I said, I'm going to take that on as my mission. I'm going to take that on as the reason why I exist in business. And I've transformed and disappeared lifestyle disease for me through education and implementation. Not just the education, because doctors have the education, but they still have high BP, cholesterol, and other poor lifestyle choices. And I said, if I can bring the education and implementation for the world's greatest problem, and if that's my purpose and mission, then I have to operate that way till I disappear lifestyle disease for this world. Now, that means I created a game of transforming 1 billion lives in the area of health, and that's what keeps me going. It's a fun game, and I'm only a few hundred lives into that, Tushar. So there's a long journey ahead, and that's what keeps me going. So being able to make that difference to human beings is gratifying and fulfilling. I also want to make sure it's monetarily rewarding because I have a material duty to my family and to the people around me. And money, just like oxygen or food, is a tool to the body. Money is a tool to anyone's mission. It's a tool to a business, it's a tool to corporates, it's a tool to an organization. And so that's what keeps me going. So thanks for asking that. Great question, man.
Thank you. No, thank you for that. It's amazing to hear about your journey, your business, your purpose, your dharma, and may you get your billion and perhaps even future generations, so trillions as well. So keep going, brother. It's
Thanks,
amazing.
thanks
Your
so much.
material
And I
that you're
invite all of you
producing,
guys listening in here,
even
all of you that are listening in, what I want you to get, and I said this earlier, but you may not have got clear. Our commitment is we want human beings to tap into what we call unlimited potential, and it's inside each of us. There is this little piece of genius, which, when awakened, we get to be our true and fullest self-expression of ourselves. And what that means is whatever each of you are really truly passionate about and determined to be in this world, you get to do that when you peel away all the layers that aren't you. And by working on your health is the first level of bringing integrity into your life, when you bring integrity to your body and your mind. And thereafter, you begin to find whatever that thing is that you're passionate about, that you can make a difference to and be monetarily rewarded for. So that's what we want people to get to, their unlimited potential, where they can get to be this contribution out there to humanity. So whatever that is for you, it's something you declare when you start the FitBanker program. It's something you share with your team. It's something we start to chisel away at. Any other questions, guys, around the webinar or the program? Okay. If there's no questions, I'm going to very quickly wrap up. So What is the FitBanker Challenge? Well, the FitBanker Challenge, you sign up, will ascertain your body type based on Ayurveda and bodybuilding. We will ascertain your body composition by asking you to get a scale or go and check that out. We will provide you with meal plan ideas based on your goals, your questionnaire, and your dietary requirements. So whether you're vegetarian or vegan or pescatarian or intolerant to anything else. We will provide you training programs that you can use and apply in the gym or at home. We'll give you an ab routine because everyone likes to work out their core and wants to get a six pack or something similar. 10 webinars that are covered like this between an hour and a half, and they go on over the 90 days of the program. They'll be live, and if you miss them, you'll get a recording for it. We do recommend, if you're on the program, you watch them timely or join live. You'll have access to private online community, which is a closed group and private group on Facebook, as well as a WhatsApp group specifically connecting you to your other participants and the FitBanker coaches. Just imagine having weekly calls with the coach or a weekly meeting with anyone, whatever their consultancy fee is, what it might cost you an arm and a leg doing that weekly for 3 months. But you getting that provided by people who are trained and committed coaches inside of our community who are doing this to be a contribution to others. During the 90 days, we do have also monthly treks. The day treks, the one-day treks within the UK are ones that you can join. They're free during your 90 days. Otherwise, you can still join them, and those are usually between between 10 and 20 pounds, depending on when you sign up to them. You have direct access to your coaches and access to me, and you can reach out to me and get on a call if you're struggling or stuck around something. But the intention, of course, is to start to chisel away at everything else that isn't you and tap into you. I just want to acknowledge you guys for being here on a Saturday morning. I want to acknowledge you guys for giving me your listening and your time. It is an investment already you have made by showing up here and giving an hour of your time, and I do want to acknowledge that. A one-to-one program is between 3 to 5K if I'm coaching you directly. We'll be focusing that on executives. The program that's starting on Monday is a group program. It's where we get to contribute to more people at once, and it makes it work for us cost efficiently. If you got this list of items on the left, each meeting or each assessment or each nutritionist charges 100, 150 to 200 pounds for one decent meeting or one webinar that you join. We get to make this cost efficient to our people because we're doing them at group. And so the Mega Early Bird 497 ended yesterday. We have a number of people who've taken that up. The current price is 697 before the full price on Monday. The program starts on Monday, but it's an education that lasts a lifetime. And you have to be on this webinar where if you saw what you could get to do and what's possible for you, what you could do if you have that energy and strength, if you got that really clear for yourself and who you could be if you tapped into your unlimited potential, then the question to ask yourself is, what would that be worth, and why would I want to put that or defer that away? And sometimes the only thing between us and accessing a system or model is just money. And I tell people that money is a tool, just like oxygen is, just like our body is, just like a car is. It's just a tool to unlock something. And so to make that even more exciting for those of you that do want to be on our program, and I'd love to have all of you that have joined today's webinar be on the same group and community and program. There is a lot of similarities you can support each other with and enjoy the community. To sign up, the website's fitbanker.com. Go. It's $9.99 on Monday morning. You can still sign up after the challenge starts up to day 7. Up to day 7, we allow people to miss 1 week and play catch up, but after that, they'll miss too much and then they cannot join. The next program starts I think it's in April. And so why wait? Why defer when we can prepare to create our spring and summer body now, right? And our mind now and our purpose now. However, to give you guys an option, this is just for today and for taking the time out from your day. As mentioned, there'll be a little gift at the end, and it is that you can join the program and get 100 off using this promo code, which is FBX90 100 off. So that's 100 OFF. So if you would like to, you go to the same website, fitbanker.com. Go. Instead of 697, you'll get £100 off. It will be 597. And every month delayed and every year delayed in taking on our health is 1 month or 1 year less of being able to serve others, make a difference, and earn an authentic, genuine living from something that could be our purpose and mission on this world. So don't take life for granted or time for granted. If you'd like to be on, that's why we're incentivizing you to join. If anyone wants to have a conversation with me today, please message me right after. I am away for the weekend, and if there's any way I can support you, let me know. That's my commitment to you. I'm grateful. I'm connected to most of you guys on social media. So lovely to have you on. I want to leave you with this thought, and I want you to leave you to being connected to acting and living life in the moment. When asked what surprised him most about humanity, the Dalai Lama answered man, because he sacrifices his health in order to make money, then he sacrifices money to recuperate his health, and then he is so anxious about the future that he does not enjoy the present. The result being that he does not live in the present or the future. He lives as if he is never going to die, and then dies having never really lived. And every day, every month, every week, we get a reminder when we hear some of the greatest and famous and most successful people in the world can be gone in a second. And when that happens to us, we realize we never got to live life in the now. My commitment is to have you all tap into your unlimited potential, and I'd be very grateful to be able to serve. So thank you all for being on. Have an awesome rest of the Saturday. Krishna, if you do want the recording of the rest of this webinar, please message me, and I will convert it, upload it, and share it with you. Thanks, guys. Have a powerful Saturday, powerful weekend, and powerful life ahead. Bye for now.
Thank you very much. Thank you to Ambika, Zeren in the Samput, and family as well. Your little boy as well. Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks a lot, Tushar.
You green.
Thank you so much.
Amazing fit banker.
Thank you. Thanks, Tushar. Thanks, Ajay. Thanks, Krishna.
Just Krishna.
All right. Thanks, Krishna. Bye.